I don't care what you think. You are a disgrace to this family, and I want you to get out of my sight right now.
I was 30 years old when my father publicly declared he wouldn't attend my birthday party because I work for fascists. It was September 2015, and I'd spent $3,000 reserving a private room at Perry's Steakhouse in Austin, Texas. 25 seats around a long table, white tablecloths, candlelight, a menu I'd carefully selected weeks in advance. Porterhouse steaks, champagne, a custom red velvet cake from the best bakery in town. I'd sent invitations to 23 family members. My parents, my older brother David, my younger sister Jessica, aunts, uncles, cousins. The whole Thompson clan. We were a big family, close-knit, or so I'd thought. Growing up in Austin, family gatherings were everything. Holidays, birthdays, random Sunday dinners. We showed up for each other. Or we used to. I arrived at the restaurant at 6:30 p.m., 30 minutes before guests were supposed to arrive. The private room was perfect. Elegant. Exactly what I'd envisioned for this milestone birthday. 30 felt significant. A real adult. Established in my career. Living in Washington, D.C. Working for a United States senator. I should have been excited. Instead, I was anxious, checking my phone every 2 minutes. The WhatsApp message had come that morning. In the family group chat, Thompson family 2 hearts, 23 members strong. I'd seen it at 7 a.m. while getting ready, and it had ruined my entire day. My father Mark had written, "My daughter Sarah works for fascists and active enemies of American democracy. I cannot celebrate and support this. I am principled and will not come. Sorry." The message sat there in the chat, bold and accusatory. And one by one, family members had reacted. My mother Susan, +1. My brother David, agree with Dad. My sister Jessica, same. Thumbs up emojis from 3 cousins. Heart reactions from 2 aunts. Silent agreement from everyone else. 23 people in that chat. 23 people who'd watched my father publicly shame me and either actively supported him or said nothing. I'd stared at my phone screen in my DC apartment that morning, unable to process what I was seeing. I'd known my family disapproved of my job. We'd had arguments about it. Tense conversations at holidays. But I'd hoped, that for my 30th birthday they'd put politics aside. That family would matter more than ideology. I'd been catastrophically wrong. Now, standing in that beautiful private room at Perry's Steakhouse, I watched guests arrive. My colleagues from Senator Cruz's office came first. Jake Morrison, a fellow legislative aide, brought flowers. Amanda Chen, our communications director, brought a bottle of expensive champagne. 6 others from the office filtered in over the next 20 minutes, all enthusiastic and genuinely happy to celebrate with me. Then a few cousins showed up. 4 of them. They looked uncomfortable, avoiding eye contact, making excuses about why others couldn't come. Traffic. Work conflict. Feeling under the weather. All lies. We all knew it. By 7:30, 12 people occupied a room designed for 25. Empty chairs surrounded us like accusation. The table looked ridiculous, this long elegant setup with huge gaps. The waiter kept asking if we were waiting for more guests. No, I finally said. This is everyone. Jake pulled me aside. Where's your family? Your parents? I forced a smile. They couldn't make it. All of them? Apparently. He looked like he wanted to say more but didn't. What could he say? The situation was mortifying. We ordered dinner. My colleagues were wonderful, truly. They were loud and funny and made toasts and tried to make the evening special. We ate those expensive porterhouse steaks. Drank the champagne. Cut the red velvet cake. From the outside, it probably looked like a successful party. But I felt every empty chair. Felt the absence of my mother, who should have been sitting next to me. My father, who should have made an embarrassing speech. My siblings, who should have roasted me with childhood stories. The aunts who should have fussed over me. The cousins who should have gotten drunk and rowdy. Instead, I had work colleagues. Good people, don't get me wrong. But they weren't family. They didn't know me as a kid. Didn't share my history. Didn't have decades of memories. Around 9 p.m., I excused myself to the bathroom. Locked myself in a stall and finally let myself break down. Cried silently, trying not to make noise, mascara running down my face. This was supposed to be a happy night. A celebration. Instead, it was one of the loneliest moments of my life. I cleaned up my face, reapplied makeup as best I could, and went back out. Got through the rest of the evening on autopilot. Smiled and laughed and acted like everything was fine. The party ended around 10:30. My colleagues hugged me goodbye, told me it was a great night, made me promise we'd do it again soon. The 4 cousins who'd shown up left quickly, still uncomfortable. And then I was alone in the parking lot, waiting for my Uber. The ride back to my hotel took 20 minutes. I'd flown in from DC that morning, was staying at a downtown Austin hotel for the weekend. The driver was silent, thank God. I sat in the back seat and stared out the window at the city I'd grown up in, tears streaming down my face, not even trying to hide them anymore. My phone buzzed with a text from Jake. "You okay?" That was rough. "Call if you need anything." I didn't respond. Couldn't. If I started talking about it, I'd completely fall apart. In my hotel room, I sat on the bed still in my dress, makeup ruined, and opened that WhatsApp chat one more time. Read my father's message again. Works for fascists and active enemies of American democracy. That's what he thought of me. Of my career. Of my choices. And apparently, most of my family agreed. I'd been working for Senator Ted Cruz for almost a year. Got hired in January 2015 as a legislative aide, a dream job for someone interested in politics and policy. $65,000 a year, which felt like a fortune compared to what I'd been making at the Texas Republican Party. An office on Capitol Hill. Real responsibilities. A chance to make a difference. My family had been horrified. I grew up in a deeply liberal household. My father was a political science professor at the University of Texas at Austin, specializing in progressive political movements. My mother taught high school history with a distinctly left-wing bent. We listened to NPR at breakfast. Watched Rachel Maddow at dinner. Attended anti-war protests together. I'd been raised to believe that Republicans were, at best, misguided, and at worst, actively evil. That conservative policies hurt people. That the GOP was the party of racism, sexism, homophobia, and corporate greed. And for a long time, I believed it. I volunteered for the Obama campaign in high school. Went to UT Austin planning to follow in my father's footsteps, maybe become a progressive professor myself. But something changed in college. I took economics courses and found myself drawn to free market ideas. Read Milton Friedman and Friedrich Hayek. Started questioning the assumptions I'd grown up with. Realized that maybe, just maybe, my parents' worldview wasn't the only valid one. By my junior year, I'd become conservative. Not as a rebellion, not to piss anyone off, but because the ideas made sense to me. Limited government. Individual liberty. Personal responsibility. These concepts resonated in a way progressive ideology never had. I didn't tell my family right away. Kept it quiet through most of college. But after graduation in 2011, when I took a job with the Texas Republican Party instead of a nonprofit or progressive organization, I couldn't hide it anymore. The reaction was explosive. My father accused me of betraying everything they'd taught me. My mother cried. David called me brainwashed. Jessica stopped speaking to me for 3 months. But eventually, they'd settled into a tense tolerance. We didn't talk politics at family gatherings. Changed the subject when things got heated. It was uncomfortable, but we managed. Until I got the Cruz job. Ted Cruz was everything my family hated about the Republican Party. Tea Party conservative. Outspoken. Uncompromising. When I told them I'd been offered a position in his Senate office, the fragile peace shattered completely. "You're going to work for Ted Cruz," my father had said, his voice tight with fury. We were at dinner at my parents' house. Late 2014. I'd just gotten the offer letter. Yes. It's an incredible opportunity. Legislative aide in a Senate office. That's huge for someone my age. He's a fascist, Sarah. An actual fascist. He shuts down the government. He filibusters for 21 hours. He's a demagogue and a threat to democracy. He's a senator who represents millions of Texans. And he's principled. He actually stands for something. He stands for everything wrong with this country. That's your opinion, Dad. Not mine. If you take this job, he'd said slowly, deliberately, you're choosing them over us. You're choosing fascism over family. I'm choosing my career. My beliefs. Myself. That's not choosing against you. Yes, it is. Because I can't support this. I won't support this. If you work for that man, you're not my daughter. I'd walked out that night. Driven back to my apartment in tears. But I'd taken the job anyway. Moved to DC in January. Started what turned out to be the most rewarding work of my life. My relationship with my family deteriorated rapidly after that. Phone calls became arguments. Texts became lectures. Holiday visits were tense and awkward. They made it clear they were ashamed of me, that my career choice was a personal betrayal. But I'd still hoped that for my 30th birthday, they'd show up. That family would override politics, at least for one night. Instead, my father had chosen to make a public statement. To write in a group chat with 23 people that I work for Fascists. To announce that his principles were more important than his daughter's milestone birthday. And my mother, my siblings, my extended family, they'd all agreed with him. I fell asleep that night in my hotel room still wearing my dress, mascara smeared across the pillow, feeling more alone than I'd ever felt in my life. The next morning, I woke up with a pounding headache and a phone full of messages. But none from my family. Not one. My colleagues had texted. "Hope you're feeling better. Last night was fun despite everything. Let's grab brunch before you fly back." But from my family? Nothing. Not even a sorry we missed it. Not a hope you had a good birthday. Nothing. I checked the WhatsApp chat again. The messages from yesterday were still there. My father's declaration. The supporting reactions. But no follow-up. No apologies. No acknowledgement that what they'd done might have hurt me. They'd made their statement and moved on. Like it was nothing. I called my father. He answered on the third ring, his voice casual, like nothing had happened. "Sarah. How was your birthday? How do you think it was, Dad? I assume you had a nice time with your Cruz office friends." The contempt in his voice was palpable. Cruz office friends. Like they were less than. Like my real friends, my real life, didn't count because of where I worked. "You humiliated me," I said quietly. In front of the entire family. In a group chat. "You said I work for Fascists and you couldn't celebrate me." I said what I believe. I'm not going to compromise my principles to make you feel better about your choices. It was my 30th birthday, Dad. One night. You couldn't put politics aside for one night? This isn't politics, Sarah. This is morality. Ted Cruz's policies harm real people. Immigrants. Poor people. LGBTQ people. I can't celebrate someone who works to implement those policies. I'm your daughter. And you're an adult who made a choice. Choices have consequences. You work for people who are destroying American democracy. I won't pretend that's okay. Something inside me snapped. The hurt turned to anger, cold and clarifying. Fine. You want to talk about choices and consequences? Here's mine. I'm done. Don't be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic. I'm done. Done with you. Done with Mom. Done with David and Jessica. Done with this whole family. Sarah. You made your choice. You said I'm not your daughter if I work for Cruz. Well, congratulations. You don't have a daughter anymore. I hung up before he could respond. Then, methodically, I went through my phone. Opened the WhatsApp group chat and deleted it. Blocked my father's number. Blocked my mother's number. Blocked David. Blocked Jessica. Went through my contacts and blocked every family member who'd been in that chat. Opened Facebook and unfriended my parents and siblings. Unfollowed aunts and uncles and cousins. Went to Twitter and Instagram and did the same thing. Systematically erased them from my digital life. It took 20 minutes. 20 minutes to cut off 30 years of family ties. And when I was done, I felt lighter. Freer. Like I'd been carrying a weight I didn't even realize was there. My phone rang almost immediately. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. Sarah, it's your mother. Please don't hang up. How did you get this number? I'm calling from a friend's phone. I knew you'd blocked me. Please, let's talk about this. You're being irrational. Irrational? You supported Dad's boycott of my birthday. You put a plus blocked that number too. Over the next few days, various family members tried to reach out. Texts from unknown numbers. Facebook messages from friends' accounts. An email from my brother. All saying versions of the same thing. I was overreacting. I was being childish. Family is family. We should work this out. But none of them acknowledged what had actually happened. None of them said we were wrong or were sorry or we shouldn't have publicly shamed you on your birthday. They just wanted me to get over it. To accept their judgment and move on. To keep being the family punching bag because of my political beliefs. I ignored all of it. Deleted messages without reading them. Let calls go to voicemail. Built a wall between myself and the family that had chosen ideology over their daughter. And I flew back to DC with a new understanding. I didn't have a family anymore. Not really. What I had were biological relatives who cared more about politics than people. Who'd rather make a public statement than show up for a birthday. But I also had something else. I had work that mattered. I had colleagues who respected me. I had a life in Washington that was mine, built on my own terms, without compromise. If my family couldn't be part of that life, that was their loss. Not mine. Back in DC, life continued. The work was intense and consuming, which was exactly what I needed. 70-hour weeks were normal in a Senate office. Early mornings, late nights, weekends spent reading bills and writing memos. It didn't leave much time to dwell on personal problems. Jake noticed I was different after that trip home. Quieter. More withdrawn. You want to talk about what happened? He asked one day. We were in the office break room, both running on caffeine and very little sleep. It was October, a month after my birthday. Not really. Your family didn't show up to your birthday party. That's pretty significant. They made their choice. I made mine. Which was? To cut them off completely. Blocked numbers, social media, everything. I'm done. Jake whistled low. That's hardcore. No contact at all? None. They publicly humiliated me in a family group chat. Called my career working for fascists. I don't need that in my life. Damn. I'm sorry. Don't be. I'm better off without them. I meant it. Or I was trying to mean it. The truth was more complicated. I missed my family. Missed my mother's voice on the phone. Missed my siblings' texts. Missed the feeling of belonging to something bigger than myself. But I missed the version of my family that had existed before politics consumed everything. The family that showed up for birthdays and celebrated achievements and loved each other despite differences. That family was gone. Had been gone for a while, actually. I'd just been too hopeful to admit it. Amanda Chen, the communications director, took me out for drinks after work one Thursday evening. She was in her 40s, married with kids, and had been in DC politics for 20 years. She'd seen everything. Jake told me what happened with your family, she said over martinis at a bar near Capitol Hill. I hope that's okay. It's fine. Not exactly a secret. For what it's worth, they're idiots. Family that doesn't support you isn't really family. That's what I keep telling myself. It's true. I've been in this city long enough to see a lot of relationships destroyed by politics. Parents disowning kids. Siblings not speaking. Friendships ending. It's gotten worse in the last few years, more tribal and vicious. Did you ever lose family over politics? My father and I didn't speak for 5 years after I came out as conservative. He was a union guy, old-school Democrat. Saw my switch to the GOP as betrayal. Eventually he came around, but it took time. And him getting over his pride. What made him come around? His first grandchild. My daughter. He wanted to be in her life more than he wanted to be right. Not everyone gets to that point though. Some people's pride is more important than relationships. That's depressing. It's realistic. Your family made a choice. They chose their political identity over their relationship with you. That says something about their priorities. And it's not a reflection on you. It's a reflection on them. I wanted to believe that. Wanted to internalize it. But it was hard. Because no matter how much I told myself they were wrong, part of me kept wondering if maybe I was the problem. If maybe I should have just stayed liberal, stayed aligned with them, avoided this whole mess. But then I'd think about my work. About the bills we were drafting, the constituents we were helping, the principles we were fighting for. And I knew I couldn't fake my beliefs just to keep my family happy. That wouldn't be authentic. That would be living a lie. So I threw myself into work even harder. Became known as the aide who was always first in and last out. The one who'd take on extra projects, work weekends, handle the difficult assignments. If I didn't have a family to go home to, I might as well have a career to be proud of. Senator Cruz noticed. In December, he called me into his office. Sarah, you've been doing excellent work. Really excellent. I wanted to let you know that I'm putting you forward for a promotion. Senior Legislative Aide. Starting in January. Thank you, Senator. That means a lot. You've earned it. You're one of the hardest workers on my team. And in this town, that's saying something. I appreciate the opportunity. He paused, studying me. Everything okay? You've seemed different the last few months. More intense. Just focused on the work. Good. But remember to take care of yourself too. This job burns people out if you're not careful. I nodded, but I knew I wouldn't slow down. Couldn't slow down. Work was what I had now. Work and the small circle of colleagues who'd become my DC family. Christmas that year was strange. I stayed in Washington instead of going home to Texas. First holiday I'd ever spent away from family. Jake invited me to his parents' house in Virginia, and I went, grateful for the invitation but feeling like an outsider. His family was warm and welcoming, but they weren't mine. I called my mother on Christmas morning. Used a friend's phone since I'd blocked her. She answered on the first ring. Sarah? Merry Christmas, Mom. Oh honey. Merry Christmas. Are you coming home? We're doing dinner at 2. I'm in D.C. I'm not coming home. There was a long silence. Then, you're really not going to let this go? It's Christmas. I'm not the one who needs to let go of anything. You all made your position clear. I made mine. Your father regrets the way he handled things. Does he? Has he said that? Has he apologized? Another pause. He thinks you should apologize. For what? For having a career? For having different political beliefs? For existing in a way that makes him uncomfortable? For cutting off your family? For missing Christmas? For being stubborn? I'm being stubborn? Mom, Dad wrote in a group chat that I work for Fascists. He organized a boycott of my 30th birthday. And you all went along with it. And now I'm supposed to apologize for being hurt by that? We're your family. We should be able to move past this. You're right. You should be able to move past my political beliefs and love me anyway. But you can't. So here we are. Sarah. I have to go. Merry Christmas, Mom. I hung up and didn't call back. The promotion came through in January 2016. Senior legislative aide. $80,000 a year now. More responsibility, better projects. I was 28 years old and building a career I could be proud of. I was also completely alone in a city of strangers. But that was the trade-off. Success for solitude. Achievement for isolation. Most days, it felt worth it. In the spring of 2016, Senator Cruz announced he was running for president. The office went into overdrive. I was part of the campaign team, traveling with the senator, working 100-hour weeks. It was exhausting and exhilarating and left no time for personal life or reflection. Which was exactly what I needed. I met Michael during the campaign. He was a lawyer in Austin, conservative, volunteering for Cruz's presidential run. We connected at a campaign event, started dating long distance, and he eventually moved to D.C. to be with me. Michael knew about my family situation. I'd been upfront about it early on. So you just don't talk to any of them, he'd asked. Nope. Not for 2 years now. And you're okay with that? Some days. Other days it's hard. But I can't have people in my life who think I'm a bad person because of my political beliefs. Who make loving me conditional on agreeing with them. That's not healthy. My family's liberal. They think I'm wrong about everything. But we still talk. Still do holidays. That's great for you. But your family didn't boycott your 30th birthday and call your career fascism in a public forum. There's a difference between disagreeing and actively rejecting someone. Fair point. Michael was good for me. Stable and supportive. He didn't try to fix the family situation or convince me to reconcile. He just accepted that this was my reality and supported my choices. We got engaged in 2020. I was 35, he was 37. We'd been together 4 years, living together for 3. It felt right. Planning a wedding without family was strange. My mother should have been helping me pick a dress. My father should have been complaining about the cost. My siblings should have been in the wedding party. Instead, I had Michael's family, who were wonderful and welcoming. His mother treated me like a daughter. His sister became a friend. They filled some of the gaps, but not all of them. We got married in 2021, a small ceremony in Georgetown with 50 guests. All friends and colleagues and Michael's relatives. The Thompson side of the aisle was empty. I tried not to focus on that. Tried to focus on the joy of marrying someone I loved, in a beautiful setting, surrounded by people who actually cared about me. But I noticed the absence. Of course I noticed. How could I not? After the ceremony, Michael's mother pulled me aside. You okay? I know today might be hard without your family here. I'm fine. This is the family I choose. That's what matters. It is. But it's okay to be sad about what you don't have too. Those feelings aren't mutually exclusive. She was right. I was happy to be married. Happy to have Michael and his family. But I was also sad that my own parents weren't there. That my mother hadn't helped me get ready. That my father hadn't walked me down the aisle. I'd walked myself down. Symbolic and empowering. But also lonely. Life after the wedding settled into a comfortable routine. I'd left Senator Cruz's office in 2018 for a better opportunity at the Heritage Foundation, one of the most prominent conservative think tanks in Washington. Director of Public Relations. $140,000 a year. Better hours than the Senate, better title, better platform. I was 33 when I took the Heritage job. By 35, I was making national TV appearances on Fox News, writing op-eds in conservative outlets, managing a team of communications professionals. I was successful by any metric. But I still had no family. Still hadn't spoken to my parents or siblings in years. Still had this hole in my life where they should have been. I looked them up online sometimes. Created fake social media accounts just to see their profiles. Saw my brother David's wedding photos. My sister Jessica's engagement announcement. Family gatherings I wasn't invited to. Holiday cards that didn't include me. They'd moved on. Built a narrative where I simply didn't exist. The family photos from my childhood had been cropped or edited to remove me. It was like I'd been erased. I told myself I didn't care. That I was better off without them. That my life was fuller and more successful than it would have been if I'd stayed in their orbit. Most of the time, I believed it. But late at night, when I couldn't sleep, I'd wonder what would have happened if things had been different. If my father had shown up to my 30th birthday. If my family had chosen to love me despite our political differences. If we'd found a way to stay connected. Would my life have been better? Or just more complicated? I didn't know. And I'd probably never know. Because that door was closed. Had been closed for 9 years. And I had no intention of opening it again. My family had made their choice. They'd chosen politics over me. Ideology over relationship. Pride over love. And I'd made my choice. To build a life without them. To surround myself with people who actually valued me. To find family and friendship rather than blood. It wasn't the life I'd imagined. But it was mine. And most days, that was enough. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon in September 2024, 9 years and 3 days after my 30th birthday. I was in my office at the Heritage Foundation, reviewing talking points for an upcoming Fox News appearance. My assistant had left for the day. The building was quiet, most people having gone home already. I was staying late, as usual, catching up on work. My phone rang. Unknown number, Texas area code. I almost didn't answer. Unknown Texas numbers were usually spam, robocalls about my car's extended warranty or whatever scam was popular that week. But something made me pick up. This is Sarah. Silence. Then breathing. Heavy, shaky breathing. Hello? I said, about to hang up. Sarah. A man's voice, rough and uncertain. A voice I hadn't heard in 9 years but recognized immediately. Sarah, it's your father. I froze. Literally stopped moving, my hand gripping the phone so tight my knuckles went white. 9 years. 9 years of complete silence. And now this. What do you want? My voice came out cold, flat. Professional. I need to talk to you. I need your help. In the background, I heard a woman crying. My mother's voice, distant but audible. Please, Mark. Ask her. She has to help. Help with what? I asked. It's complicated. I'm in a difficult situation. Professionally. I lost my job at UT. I've been unemployed for 9 months now. I can't find anything. I've applied everywhere. And I thought maybe you could help. You work in politics. Big politics. You've been in Washington for 9 years now. You must have connections. Networks. Maybe you could help me find something. Consultant work, analyst position, anything really. I'm not picky. His voice was shaking. Desperate. Nothing like the confident, self-righteous professor I remembered. This was a man who'd been broken by circumstances. Who'd lost everything and was scrambling. You lost your job, I repeated slowly. Yes. In December. There were complaints. From students. Conservative students. They said I was biased. That I was discriminating against them because of their political views. The university investigated and they asked me to resign quietly. To avoid a scandal. I didn't have much choice. Conservative students complained about you being biased against them. It was political persecution, Sarah. They coordinated it. 12 of them filed formal complaints. They had documentation. They made it look like I was giving them lower grades because they were Republicans. Which is absurd. I grade fairly. I always have. Did you? What? Grade fairly. Did you actually grade conservative students fairly? Or did you let your politics influence your teaching? There was a long pause. I teach truth. I teach facts. If those facts happen to contradict conservative ideology, that's not my fault. So yes. You let your politics influence your teaching. And students noticed. And complained. And the university had to act. You're making it sound like I did something wrong. Didn't you? I was teaching. Political science requires discussing politics. I can't avoid my own views just because some snowflake Republicans got offended. And now you're unemployed because of it. Yes. And I'm 58 years old, Sarah. 58. Do you know how hard it is to find an academic position at my age? After being forced out? No one will hire me. I've been applying for 9 months. 9 months. We're burning through savings. Your mother is terrified. We might lose the house. I could hear my mother sobbing louder now. Tell her we need her, Mark. Tell her family helps family. You work in Washington, my father continued, his voice rising with desperation. You know people. Conservative people. Think tanks, policy organizations, consulting firms. Surely someone needs an experienced political scientist. Someone with my credentials. You could make some calls. Put in a good word. Please, Sarah. I'm your father. I'm begging you. 9 years. 9 years since I'd heard his voice. 9 years since he'd publicly declared I work for fascists. 9 years since he'd organized a boycott of my 30th birthday in a family group chat. And now he needed something from me. I felt something cold and hard settle in my chest. Not anger, exactly. Something calmer than that. Colder. Clearer. Dad, I said quietly. Do you remember September 2015? What? Why are you bringing up? Do you remember my 30th birthday? Perry's Steakhouse in Austin? Silence. Do you remember what you wrote in the family group chat? That morning? Sarah, that was 9 years ago. I don't see what. I remember it perfectly. I have a screenshot actually. Saved on my computer. Would you like me to read it to you? That's not necessary? My daughter Sarah works for fascists and active enemies of American democracy. I cannot celebrate and support this. I am principled and will not come. Sorry. Those were your exact words. I was angry. I was. You organized a boycott of my milestone birthday. In a group chat with 23 family members. Mom wrote +1. David agreed with you. Jessica said same. Other relatives liked the message. Gave it hearts. Showed their support for your principled stand against me. We had different political views. Different political views? My voice was still calm, but I could feel the ice in it. Dad, you called my career working for fascists. You said I was an enemy of American democracy. You publicly shamed me in front of our entire extended family. And then you didn't show up to my birthday party. None of you did. Out of 23 invited family members, 4 showed up. 4. We were making a statement about. You were making a statement that your politics mattered more than your daughter. That your ideology was more important than family. That being principled justified rejecting me completely. That's not fair. Isn't it? You taught me a valuable lesson that day, Dad. You taught me that principles matter more than relationships. That political beliefs justify cutting people out of your life. That sometimes family isn't as important as standing firm in what you believe. Sarah, please. You were right. About all of it. Principles do matter. Standing firm does matter. And I learned from the best. What are you saying? I took a deep breath. Let the silence stretch. In the background, my mother was still crying, her voice rising. Mark, what is she saying? Is she going to help? Here's the thing, Dad. You called my career fascism. You said I work for active enemies of American democracy. You were very clear about that. Very public about it. I was wrong. I was angry and I was wrong. But that was 9 years ago. Can't we move past it? I still work in conservative politics, Dad. Still work for those fascists you were so disgusted by. I'm actually more successful at it now. Director of Public Relations at the Heritage Foundation. You know the Heritage Foundation? One of the most influential conservative organizations in America? I make 6 figures. I go on Fox News regularly. I help shape conservative policy. Sarah. So by your own logic, by your own stated principles, I'm still working for fascists and enemies of democracy. That hasn't changed. I'm the same person doing the same kind of work you found so objectionable that you couldn't even attend my birthday party. But I need help now. And you want me to use my fascist connections to help you. You want me to call up all my conservative friends and colleagues and ask them to give jobs to a progressive professor who was fired for discriminating against conservative students. Do I have that right? I wasn't fired. I resigned. You were forced out because you couldn't keep your political bias out of your classroom. Because you created a hostile environment for students who disagreed with you. Because you did exactly what you accused me of doing, let politics override professionalism. That's not. How many times did you lecture me about Ted Cruz? About how working for him made me complicit in racism and homophobia and all sorts of evil? How many times did you tell me I was on the wrong side of history? How many family members did you convince that I was morally compromised because of my job? I believe what I said. Then believe it now. If I work for fascists, if my colleagues are enemies of democracy, why would you want their help? Why would you want me to use those connections on your behalf? Because I'm desperate. Because I need a job. Because I'm your father and you owe me. I owe you? My voice rose for the first time. I owe you? After what you did? After publicly humiliating me? After organizing a family boycott? After 9 years of complete silence? I owe you? My mother's voice cut through, loud enough for me to hear clearly now. Yes. You owe your family. Family helps family. That's what family does. I almost laughed. Family helps family. That's rich. Where was family 9 years ago? Where was family at my 30th birthday? Where was family when I got engaged? When I got married? Where was family for 9 years while I built a life in DC? You cut us off, my father said. You blocked our numbers. You wouldn't talk to us. I cut you off after you publicly rejected me. After you made it crystal clear that your politics mattered more than your daughter. I cut you off because you'd already cut me off emotionally. I just made it official. We're trying to reach out now. Because you need something. Not because you miss me. Not because you realized you were wrong. Not because you want a relationship. But because you need me to use my fascist connections to get you a job. That's the only reason I'm hearing from you after 9 years. Please, Sarah. His voice broke completely. I'm begging you. I don't know what else to do. We're running out of money. Your mother is terrified. I can't find work. I'm too old, too tainted by the scandal. Nobody will hire me. You're my last hope. Your last hope is the daughter you publicly disowned? The one who works for fascists? That's your last hope? Yes. I know I don't deserve your help. I know I was terrible to you. But please. I'm desperate. I thought about saying yes. Thought about being the bigger person. About helping him despite everything. Showing him that I was better than he was. More forgiving. More generous. But then I thought about that birthday party. About standing in that private room with empty chairs everywhere. About crying in the Uber. About 9 years of holidays without family. About my wedding with no one from my side. About every milestone celebrated without the people who should have been there. About the WhatsApp message I'd screenshotted and saved. The one where he called my career fascism. The one with thumbs-up reactions from people who were supposed to love me. Do you remember what you told me that day? I asked quietly. When I called you about missing my birthday? I don't. You said choices have consequences. That I chose to work for people destroying American democracy. That you couldn't support that. That you were principled. Sarah. You were right. Choices do have consequences. And you made your choice 9 years ago. You chose your political principles over your daughter. You chose making a public statement over showing up for my birthday. You chose ideology over family. Please don't do this. I'm just applying your own logic. The same logic you used on me. You want principles? Let's talk principles. My principle is that I don't help people who publicly humiliated me. Who called my career fascism. Who organized family boycotts against me. Who made me dead to them for 9 years. I'm your father. You stopped being my father the day you wrote that WhatsApp message. The day you chose politics over me. You don't get to be my father only when it's convenient for you. Only when you need something. Family is family. No. Family is the people who show up. Who support you. Who love you even when they disagree with you. That's not you. That hasn't been you for 9 years. You're just a man who shares my DNA and who needs something from me now that his life fell apart. My mother was screaming now, her voice hysterical. Tell her she has to help. Tell her she's obligated. She's our daughter. Here's what I want you to do, Dad, I said, my voice cold and clear. I want you to reach out to all those people who agreed with you. The 23 people in that family group chat. Mom, David, Jessica, all the aunts and uncles and cousins who liked your message. Who supported your boycott? Who thought it was right and principled to reject me? They can't help me. Ask them for help. Ask your progressive friends. Your liberal colleagues. Your Democrat networks. All those people who agreed that I work for fascists and enemies of democracy. Surely they'll help you. Surely they value principles and progressive solidarity enough to give you a job. That's not how it works. Or better yet, ask the communists. Ask the socialists. You always said Republicans were fascists, so presumably you respect their opponents. Reach out to the furthest left organizations you can find. I'm sure they'd love to hire someone who was fired for being too politically biased. That's a badge of honor in those circles. Sarah, please. But don't call me. Don't ask the fascist's daughter for help. That would be unprincipled. That would be compromising your values. And we both know how much you value your principles. You're being cruel. I'm being consistent. You taught me that principles matter. That you can't compromise your values just because it's convenient. That sometimes you have to make hard choices and live with the consequences. I learned from you, Dad. You were an excellent teacher. I'm sorry, he shouted. I'm sorry, okay? I was wrong. I was an asshole. I should have come to your birthday. I should have supported you. I'm sorry. The words hung in the air. The apology I'd wanted for 9 years. The acknowledgement that he'd been wrong. And it meant nothing. Because it only came now. Now that he needed something. Now that his life had fallen apart and he was desperate. Not 9 years ago when I was crying in an Uber. Not at my wedding when I walked down the aisle alone. Not on any holiday or birthday or milestone in between. Now. When it was convenient for him. You know what, Dad? I believe you are sorry. Sorry you lost your job. Sorry you can't find work. Sorry you're facing consequences for your own actions. Sorry that your life isn't going the way you planned. That's not. But you're not sorry for what you did to me. Not really. You're sorry because you need me. If you still had your job, if you were still comfortable and secure, you'd never have called. I'd still be dead to you. This apology only exists because you need something. Please, Sarah. I'm begging you. Don't do this. I'm not doing anything, Dad. I'm simply respecting the boundaries you established. You said I work for fascists. You said you couldn't support that. You stood on principle. And I respect that. I respect it so much that I'm going to let you keep standing on it. My life is falling apart. Mine fell apart 9 years ago when my entire family rejected me on my 30th birthday. Somehow I survived. Built a successful career. Made a good life. Found people who actually valued me. You'll figure it out too. Or you won't. Either way, it's not my problem. How can you be so cold? So heartless? I learned from the best. You taught me that family is conditional. That love has limits. That when principles and people conflict, principles win. You were very clear about that lesson. I'm just applying what you taught me. I could hear my mother in the background, her voice shrill. She's heartless. Our daughter is heartless. After everything we did for her. What did you do for me? I asked. Raise me? That's what parents are supposed to do. That's the minimum. You don't get credit for meeting the basic requirements of parenthood. You want credit? Show up for your kid. Support them. Love them even when they make choices you don't agree with. You did none of that. So don't talk about everything you did for me. Sarah, my father tried again. Goodbye, Dad. Don't call this number again. Don't have Mom call. Don't have David or Jessica reach out. We're done. We've been done for 9 years. This conversation changes nothing. Wait. I hung up. Sat there in my office, phone in my hand, heart pounding. 9 years. 9 years of no contact. And it took him all of 2 minutes to make me feel exactly the way I felt that birthday night. Small. Rejected. Like I didn't matter except as a tool to be used. My phone rang again immediately. Same unknown number. I declined the call and blocked it. Then I pulled up my contacts and double-checked. Both my parents' numbers were still blocked from 9 years ago. I added this new number to the block list. My hands were shaking. From adrenaline, from anger, from something I couldn't quite name. I'd wanted that conversation to feel triumphant. Victorious. Like I was finally getting justice. Instead, I just felt empty. I sat in my office for a long time after that, staring out the window at the Washington, D.C. skyline. The city was beautiful at twilight, all lit up and important looking. I'd built a life here. A good life. A life my family had no part in. And that was by choice. Their choice, initially. My choice to maintain it. My phone buzzed with a text. Unknown number. I almost didn't look, but something made me check. It was my brother David. Must have gotten a new number or borrowed someone's phone. The message was long, clearly written in haste and anger. Sarah, Dad just called me crying. He said you refused to help him. How can you do this? He's your father. He's family. He made a mistake 9 years ago, yes, but people make mistakes. You can't hold a grudge forever. This is cruel and heartless. He's 58 years old with no job and no prospects. Mom is terrified. They might lose everything. And you have connections that could help him. You work in politics. You know people. It would be easy for you to make some calls. But you're choosing to be vindictive instead. Choosing to punish him for something that happened almost a decade ago. That's not who you are. Or at least it's not who you used to be. Maybe DC changed you. Made you hard. Made you forget what family means. But I'm asking you, as your brother, please help him. Please don't let pride destroy what's left of our family. We've already lost too much time. Don't let this be the thing that makes it permanent. I read it twice. Then I opened LinkedIn on my computer. Found David's profile. He worked as an environmental lawyer in Austin, made decent money, had a nice life. In his profile picture, he was with his wife and 2 kids, everyone smiling. A family I'd never met. Nieces and nephews I didn't know. A sister-in-law whose name I only knew from Facebook stalking years ago. I clicked on the message function and typed a response. David, it's interesting that you call after 9 years only because Dad needs something. Not to reconnect. Not to apologize. But to guilt me into helping someone who publicly humiliated me. Let me remind you since you seem to have forgotten. 9 years ago, Dad wrote in a family group chat that I work for fascists and enemies of American democracy. He organized a boycott of my 30th birthday. You agreed with him. Publicly. In that same chat. You wrote agree with Dad. You supported his decision to reject me. And for 9 years, you said nothing. No calls. No texts. No attempts to reach out or bridge the gap. You erased me from the family as completely as everyone else did. So don't talk to me about family now. Don't tell me I'm being cruel. Don't lecture me about holding grudges. You held a grudge for 9 years too. The only difference is that your grudge was based on my political beliefs, and mine is based on how you treated me. Dad's life is falling apart? My life fell apart 9 years ago. I rebuilt it without any of you. I built a career, got married, created a life I'm proud of. All without family support. You want to talk about what family means? Family means showing up. It means supporting each other through disagreements. It means loving people even when they make choices you don't agree with. None of you did that for me. So don't ask me to do it for Dad now. He made his choices. He called my career fascism. He valued his principles over his daughter. And now those principles are all he has left. That's not my fault. That's consequences. Which, coincidentally, is exactly what Dad told me 9 years ago. Choices have consequences. He was right. Don't contact me again. We're not family. We haven't been for 9 years. This doesn't change that. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. Then I blocked David's LinkedIn profile. My phone rang. Unknown number again. I declined. Blocked. It rang again. Different number. Declined. Blocked. They weren't going to give up easily. My family, who'd ignored me for 9 years, was suddenly very determined to reach me. But I was more determined to keep them out. I spent the next 30 minutes systematically blocking every possible avenue of contact I could think of. Checked my privacy settings on all social media. Made sure my phone number wasn't publicly listed anywhere. Set my email to auto-delete anything from Thompson family email addresses. Built a wall. A digital fortress. Kept them out the same way they'd kept me out for 9 years. By the time I finished, it was almost 7 p.m. I'd been at the office for 11 hours. Michael would be wondering where I was. I gathered my things and headed home. The metro was crowded with evening commuters, everyone tired and checked out. I stood in the middle of the car, holding onto a pole, and felt completely disconnected from all of them. These were strangers. But so was my family. The people I'd grown up with, shared a home with, thought I'd know forever, they were strangers now. Had been for 9 years. Tonight just made it official. Michael was making dinner when I got home. Our condo in Capitol Hill was small but nice, tastefully decorated, everything in its place. A home we'd built together. A life that belonged to us. "You're late," he said, kissing me hello. "Everything okay?" My father called. Michael stopped stirring the pasta sauce. What? After 9 years? He lost his job. Got forced out of UT for being biased against conservative students. Can't find work. Wanted me to use my connections to help him. You're kidding. I wish I was. What did you say? I told him to ask his communist friends for help. Reminded him that I work for fascists. Hung up on him. Blocked his number. Michael stared at me for a moment. Then he laughed. Actually laughed. Brutal. But fair. What did he say? That he was sorry. That he was wrong 9 years ago. That he needs help. Classic narcissist apology. Sorry for the consequences of his actions, not the actions themselves. Did David and Jessica reach out too? David sent a long guilt trip message on LinkedIn. Told me I was being cruel and heartless. That family helps family. The usual manipulation. Jesus. After 9 years of silence, they all come crawling back because they need something. Yep. And they're shocked that I'm not jumping to help. Like the last 9 years didn't happen. Like they can just pretend we're family when it's convenient. Michael turned off the stove and pulled me into a hug. I'm sorry. I know this has to be hard. Is it weird that I don't feel that bad? Like, I feel something. But it's not guilt. It's not even really anger anymore. It's just cold. Like they're strangers who happened to call me. That's probably healthy. They are basically strangers at this point. Time and distance do that. My father cried. My mother was screaming in the background about how I owe them. David wrote this whole thing about pride-destroying family. They're playing every guilt card they have. But you're not buying it. No. Because it's manipulation. It's not genuine. If Dad had called any time in the last 9 years just to say hi, just to check in, maybe things would be different. But he only called because he needs something. That tells me everything. We ate dinner and talked about other things. Work drama. Weekend plans. Normal life stuff. But underneath, I couldn't stop thinking about that phone call. My father's voice, desperate and broken. So different from the confident professor I remembered. He'd lost everything: job, reputation, financial security. At 58, with few prospects, facing a future very different from what he'd planned. Part of me felt bad for him. A small part. The part that remembered being a kid, being his daughter, before politics consumed everything. But the larger part felt nothing. Or maybe felt satisfied. He'd spent years telling me that choices have consequences. That principles matter. That sometimes you have to stand firm even when it costs you relationships. Well, here were his consequences. Here was the cost of his principles. Here was what standing firm looked like when the universe decided to call his bluff. And I wasn't going to save him from it. That night, I couldn't sleep. Lay awake next to Michael, staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversation over and over. Had I been too harsh? Should I have at least listened more? Considered helping? But then I remembered. Remembered that empty private room at Perry's Steakhouse. The 4 cousins who showed up out of 23 invitations. The WhatsApp message with its thumbs-up reactions. 9 years of silence. My wedding with empty chairs on my side. No. I hadn't been too harsh. I'd been exactly as harsh as necessary. My father taught me that family is conditional. That love has limits. That principles matter more than people. He taught me well. And now I was applying those lessons. He just didn't like being on the receiving end. Around 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. Email this time. From an address I didn't recognize. But the subject line told me everything: from your mother. I deleted it without opening it. Blocked the sender. 5 minutes later, another email. Different address. Please read this, Mom. Deleted. Blocked. They were persistent. I'd give them that. But I was more persistent. I'd spent 9 years building a life without them. I wasn't going to let one phone call undo all that work. I finally fell asleep around 4 a.m. and dreamed about my 30th birthday. But in the dream, everyone showed up. The room was full. My family was there, celebrating, happy. We were together like we used to be, before politics ruined everything. I woke up feeling sad. Missing something that no longer existed. Missing a version of my family that was gone, if it had ever really existed at all. But missing something doesn't mean you need to get it back. Sometimes things end. Sometimes people drift apart or push each other away. Sometimes families break and can't be fixed. And sometimes that's okay. I got up, got ready for work, and went about my day. The Heritage Foundation had a big event that evening. I had media prep. I had a life that didn't include my father or his problems. And that life was good. Successful. Meaningful. It was enough. It had to be enough. Because it was all I had. And I'd chosen it. Built it. Earned it. My family made their choice 9 years ago. I made mine that Tuesday night when I hung up the phone. And I didn't regret it for a second.